How powerful is a woman's soul reach? That's the question we're going to be addressing today on Flourish-Meant. I'm your host, Tina Yeager. Flourish-Meant is sponsored by Access More. Today, I have with me an amazing missionary and ministry leader. Her name is Mischelle Manis. She is Women's Ministry Director for Reaching Souls International, and she's going to share with us from her heart and from her experience and expertise on how we can better understand a woman's soul reach. Welcome, Mischelle. I am thrilled to have you on Flourish-Meant today.
Thank you, Tina. I'm really excited to be here.
So, Mischelle, let's go a little bit deeper in this second portion of our interview and talk about some of the practical things that women need to know about why God has qualified them and how they can connect with their unique giftedness as people who can be the light in the darkness and go out and share the love of Christ with others.
Well, let me kind of share a little bit of my story and make that connection there. When I went on my first trip back in 1990, I mentioned that I was sort of an adventurous type, and I really sort of wanted to go on this trip to be able to visit this different continent. As it came closer to the time for us to be preparing to leave, I sort of knew what we were going to be doing. I wasn't quite sure, but I had been told that I was going to need to share my testimony. And I began to panic. And I began to panic because I thought, oh, wait, I'm going on a mission trip and I am not a missionary. I'm not equipped. I really began to doubt myself. I had only been a Christian a few years. I came to know Christ in 1987. This was 1990. I was still very young. I knew nothing about the world. But what I did know was that I had made many, many mistakes in my past. And so I questioned and I said, how, God, can you even use me? Maybe someone else should be going in my place because, man, I've got a lot of things I've got to make up for in my past, and I'm not going to be speaking from wisdom and all of these things. And so I really dedicated myself to seeking Him, and to the point that on a daily basis I began going to Him and praying and laying flat on the floor, face down before Him, and saying, God, if you want me to go on this trip, you're going to have to tell me I'm supposed to go on this trip. Because if I go on this trip, you're going to have to work through me and use me because I don't have anything. I have nothing. And one day, as I was on the floor and I was crying out to Him and I had tears flowing, I was really conflicted about this and scared. And I heard in an audible voice, I heard God say, go. And I did. I went. And through all of my weakness, Jesus shined through. He did. He was faithful. And that's exactly where He wants us to be. And if I have any kind of message for women out there, is that is the place He wants you to be. Totally submitted, subjected to Him, and allowing Him to work through all of the things that you feel are weaknesses or faults. Later in my life, I went on to get married and to have children, and so I was at home quite a bit with them, and raising children became sort of my ministry during that time. And even though we were still involved with reaching souls, that became the primary purpose in my life. And in raising my children, we were very purposeful. And I remember, man, again, thinking, God, I am not equipped for this. Why did you call me to this? I'm raising these little human beings and I have no idea what I'm doing. And again, He was faithful. He's always been faithful to step in and give us exactly what we need. When my oldest son was 22 years old, we went through another time of what I call refining through loss and through grief. My oldest son at 22, he took his own life. And that was a devastating punch to us. Here we are. We've been in ministry all our lives. We thought we were raising our children the way that we were supposed to raise our children. And, they went with us on these mission trips, and my children, I did a lot of things wrong, but they love people, and they learned to love God and love people, through our lifestyle. And so when this happened, it just flipped my world upside down. And I found myself in a place again where I said, God will never be able to use me. He will never be able to use me in ministry again. And I tell people it was like when Naomi was speaking to Ruth in the story of Ruth. She had lost everything. And Ruth said, I'm going to go with you. And Ruth said, no, you need to stay here because I'm a cursed woman. You don't want to be around me. And Ruth chose to go, obviously, but that's how I felt. I withdrew. I withdrew from ministry. I withdrew from counseling anyone on anything because I thought, why would anyone want to speak to me? Why would anyone want to hear from me? Why would anyone want to hear about God from a person who failed him? That's how I felt. But I just want women to understand that every single thing that we experience, everything we go through, the consequences of our own choices, the consequences of the choices of others inflicted upon us, that all of those God redeems, and he builds, and he creates the vessel, the perfect vessel for which to work through to minister to others. And as Paul says, and I believe this is in 1 Corinthians chapter 4, where he calls us clay vessels or clay pots, right? And so here we are, these fragile vessels, and all of us are broken. Every single one of us are broken. But he says, but the treasure's here. It's on the inside. And what I've come to learn and come to understand through my own healing process is that the bigger those scars, the bigger those breaks in that outer vessel, the more that Christ is able to shine through. And through our own pain and our own suffering, our own loss, that in place of that, we are given this incredible compassion and connection to people that we might never have had connection to before. So for those that are out there that question or they doubt their ability, whatever stage of life that you're in, whether you're a single woman who feels like maybe you haven't reached all your potential because you're not married or you don't have children, God is using every single part of who you are. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait until things look the way you think that they're supposed to look to be there. If you're a mom who's at home with small children and you are frustrated and you're dealing with everyday doubts like I did, how can I raise these little human beings? I don't have any idea what I'm doing. God is using you and he's working in you 24 hours a day. And he is going to use every mistake that you make and every good thing that you do to create you and make you into the perfect person for the ministry he has called you into. So it doesn't matter where you are in life, and it doesn't matter what you've done. You are a usable vessel for him. And I believe that suffering, pain, the mistakes that we make us an even better vessel to be used by God.
Such a powerful story. And I'm hearing you say that God uses us where we are, even if he doesn't send us out to a distant land to do missions. He may use us in ministry to our neighborhoods, our families, the people around us, through the things that we can connect with them on in our lives and their lives, being people that have all made mistakes and all need Jesus. God uses all of that. It's not about where you're going. It's about God using you where you are oftentimes.
That is absolutely right. That is absolutely right. I think some of our doubting comes when we think that we are supposed to be like someone else, or that we're supposed to create some big opportunity for ministry. No, our ministry is right where we are, and God will lead and direct each and every individual in their own environment, in their own situations, to shine a light for him. There's darkness everywhere. There's darkness everywhere. Yeah, people need light, and we're light. We're light and we're salt in every situation that we're in. And let me just share one other thing that might speak to that as well. When I'm here in the States, I work with another organization that works with the homeless, and they work with women who have been trafficked, women and children who have been trafficked. And one of the things that I learned working with this ministry is that walking with Christ and being a minister of the gospel of Christ does not always look like the picture we think in our heads, right? We think of these I don't know, great people standing in a pulpit and sharing the gospel and seeing people come to them, and that happens. But I know personally of people who will never not be homeless, that are ministers of light in their homeless communities. They are having Bible studies on the street. They are leading others to hope and out of desperation. That's what Jesus looks like in reality. Not the person that lives in a house and has a family and has all the things we think of when we think of the American mindset or life. So what I'm saying to you is that he's going to use you where you are. And even if your circumstances never change, even if they never change, he is going to use you, and you can make a huge difference. You can change hearts simply by allowing Jesus to speak through you in whatever situation you're in.
How can people find you and follow you and get more information about being developed into how God has created them to shine their light into the world?
I would encourage them to visit reachingsouls.org. And we have a place where you can email us, and you can ask us anything you would like. I would love to respond to your emails personally if you have a question for me. So reachingsouls.org, go there, see the testimonies, see the stories of women just like you, just like me, who are shining the light in whatever circumstances they're in, and seeing generations of people changed because of it. It's an encouragement to just read and to see these things. And I hope that this encourages women who are hearing this right now to understand how much God loves them, that he has a purpose for your life, regardless of where you are right now, where you've been in the past. He does. Hold on to him, be tethered to him, and let that light shine.
Thank you so much, Mischelle. I so appreciate the wonderful ministry and mission work that you are doing and the message that you have brought us today so that women who are listening to this now, I hope all of you are encouraged by this message and that you are inspired to seek more information from Reaching Souls International. And of course, I also hope that you come back for the next episode of Flourish-Meant. Flourish-Meant is part of the Spark Media Network and can be found on the Edify app.